Why slow-motion dispensationalism is a social train wreck. In the last century, dispensational theology has reshaped the imagination of vast swaths of evangelical Christianity. Its most striking innovation, the pre-tribulation rapture, promised believers a sudden escape from tribulation, leaving an unbelieving world behind to face divine judgment. Though it claimed biblical warrant, this teaching was virtually unknown before the 19th century and was never endorsed by the historic churches, Catholic, Orthodox, Anglican or Reformed. Yet what we have witnessed in history is not an abrupt dividing line, but a slow-motion unravelling of dispensational promises. Modern Israel has been regathered, prophecy charts have been eagerly filled in, books and movies have multiplied. But the church remains on earth, the tribulation has not arrived, and the last generation has already outlived itself. What began as a dramatic promise of imminence has devolved into a decades-long transitional limbo, leaving believers confused, disoriented, and in some cases socially paralysed. Slow-motion dispensationalism, the lived reality of a prolonged, failed prophetic system, is not merely a theological error, but a social train wreck. By tying modern Israel too closely to biblical prophecy, by feeding fatalism and generational disconnect, and by fostering subconscious anxiety about the end of the world, this theology has warped Christian witness and weakened hope in the very gospel it intended to defend. The original promise of dispensational imminence. Dispensationalism arose in the fertile soil of 19th century Britain, nurtured by John Nelson Darby, the Plymouth Brethren, and the Schofield Reference Bible. It provided a neat chart of history, dividing God's dealings into separate dispensations. It offered believers the comforting thought that they would escape the Great Tribulation through a sudden, secret rapture. This doctrine of imminence was crucial. Unlike other eschatologies, which allowed for long centuries of church history and missionary work, dispensationalism taught that nothing stood in the way of Christ's return. The rapture could happen at any moment. But this claim always carried an internal contradiction. Dispensationalists also insisted that Israel must be restored as a nation, a temple rebuilt, and end-time enemies gathered before the tribulation could begin. Thus, while preaching any moment imminence, they smuggled in a checklist of prerequisites. From 70 AD until the 1800s, when Israel did not exist as a nation, the rapture could not have been imminent by their own criteria. This raises a massive red flag. A system that is true for only part of church history is not biblical truth at all. Many evangelicals proclaimed the clock had started ticking. They cited Jesus' words about "this generation shall not pass," Matthew 24:34, and predicted Christ's return within 40 years. Yet 1988 came and went. Then 2000, 70 years after Israel's founding, also passed without a rapture. The last generation has stretched so long that entire generations of Christians have lived and died under its shadow. From instant catastrophe to slow-motion confusion. If the rapture had truly happened in an instant, the scheme, though unscriptural, would at least have been internally consistent. Unbelievers would be left behind, the tribulation would begin, and the dispensational calendar would advance like clockwork. Repulsive though this picture is, implying a God who abandons billions overnight, it at least offered clarity, but the actual unfolding of events has been far different. Israel has regathered, but the church remains. Jerusalem is in Jewish hands, but the temple has not been rebuilt. Wars and rumors of wars continue, but the Great Tribulation has not materialized. What we have is a dragged-out, half-fulfilled, endlessly deferred dispensationalism, an interim dispensation that no prophecy chart ever accounted for. This slow-motion eschatology produces confusion on multiple levels. Theological confusion. Is this Israel truly the covenantal people of God, even if most are secular or unbelieving? Prophetic. Are we in the last generation or not? How many last generations can there be? Pastoral confusion. Should churches prepare believers for suffering and endurance, or for a sudden escape? The result is paralysis. Believers are left suspended between two worlds, told they are living on the brink of eternity, yet forced to endure decade after decade of normal human history. This limbo has profound consequences for the way Christians live, raise families, and engage with society.